Okay, is this the brave souls who've... It's not like an endurance contest where you see how many sessions of me in a row you can take. But as we dip into the next session, and I really do want to leave enough time so that you all can comment or ask questions, whatever. One of the things that's commanded my attention a lot over the past several months has been the continuing reports of talent shortage in the world of supply chain management. There's stuff written all over. I don't know which numbers to believe. There's always somebody you got to study saying something just heart-stopping. But whatever the real numbers might be, we know what the challenge is with over-the-road long-haul truck drivers, with sheer numbers, generational aging, the economics of that thing. When you talk to people who do serious analytic work, they talk about we could use 600,000 analysts today. Well, we all know that there aren't 600,000 analysts out there today. And as we get more and more data, even organized, filtered, selected, even easily accessible, we're going to need a whole lot of smart people to be analysts. And we've got a huge challenge in that area, opinion, in that raw brain power isn't enough. And it's one of our great challenges is when we have people who can look at numbers and draw, if not conclusions, inferences. And I have to gauge the room carefully here. Okay. The young analyst is 25 years old, recently graduated MBA from a top-tier school, smart as anything. Absolutely clueless about the real world. How do we find analysts with experiential context to be able to help them through the analytic process? And it's frustrating, I think, for a lot of people, and maybe this is a generational thing, I'm not sure, but, and maybe it's my own dementia kicking in, but when we make a query, however that query is structured, we typically don't know if that's the right query, and we won't know until we see what it yields. And based on what it yields or doesn't yield, we may think of a better way to ask a question, or ask a related question, or find an outlier in the data behind it that causes to say, what happened there? What caused that? And it's there's a long-dead Supreme Court justice who was quoted as saying he wasn't sure he could define pornography, but he knew it when he saw it. And it's a little bit like working with data. You know, we'll recognize the truth when it emerges, but we don't know what it looks like, you know, until that happens. So that's a challenge. We've got an enormous need, particularly as the economy continues its lurching recovery, for just people doing the pick and shovel work of driving forklifts and picking orders and replenishing and doing all of those things. But we also need people who can develop software in context, not sitting up in a war room somewhere, but people who have actually been on a floor and, I hate to say climbed on a rack, because OSHA will be all over us if they find out about that. But trust me, I've taken an inventory or two in ways that would even my mother doesn't want to know about. But we need engineers, we need designers. We need everything. We need material handling engineers to help us design facility. We need network analysts who can take these wonderful modeling tools that we have and turn them into Cindy's going to start nodding here in about a minute, and turn them into some sort of reality, because without that experiential context, it's just numbers. And if all you do is play with numbers, some very bright young person is going to say, aha, the perfect location for your national distribution center is just outside Omaha, Nebraska. Not a chance. But the numbers, tell you what, why don't you plug in Columbus, Ohio, or Atlanta, Georgia, or. See how that turns out. Oh, gee, Omaha just disappeared. How'd that happen? So, yeah, we need some of this real world touch that goes along with all of that. So that's, and we've got, even within, this raises kind of a struggle, and I'm going to stumble a bit in trying to articulate it. I keep talking about this great talent shortage, and we have a very active supply chain and logistics community in Central Ohio. And there are a lot of people who are, as they say, in transition. That's, everybody knows that means out of work and have been for too long. But they're in transition. And they say, why are you talking about this shortage? I've got 30 years of... Well, here's what's missing. If all you understand, if you think supply chain management is about moving the box from here to there and picking some underwear out of that one and shipping it off, you don't get it. You don't see the end to end. You don't see the bigger thing that you're part of. You don't understand the linkage. Gosh, I wish we had a couple of hours. You know, that would kill you. You'd all be, oh, make them stop. But they don't have the enterprise vision. It says, here are all the things that we touch, influence, drive, facilitate in the world of supply chain management. It's about, and put aside for a minute the idea that with tough buying, I can get it for a nickel less from a supplier. Not important. What's important is total cost of ownership over a product life cycle. What's important is reliability. What's important is uninterrupted supply, so on. So what's important is not getting caught up in a civil war or being at risk of one. Volcanoes going off in Iceland, I can't do anything about that. But there are other things that we can think about. But if people don't have that kind of perspective, in today's world in supply chain management, they are not valued. All that 30 years of experience, no, you got 1 year of experience 30 times. You don't have 30 years of experience. Companies today, many of them, it's not universal, don't care about somebody with a good attitude and a strong work ethic coming in, and over time will build you up and move you along, and it doesn't happen in a lot of places anymore. You get hired based on what you can contribute today. And if you're smart and aggressive, you'll look for new challenges in that position and deliver even more value. You'll educate, you'll train, you'll develop yourself. The company, in many cases, is not doing that with people anymore. So all this baloney you hear about, you are your own brand, it's true. That is the new world. Can't blame it on Bush or Obama. That is the way the world works. So you got to have this end-to-end vision. You need to be able to express things in a way that resonates to a C-level officer in the company. It is not good enough to express things in terms that are important to us. We can improve our on-time delivery performance by 7%. Woo! What does that mean? I'm the chairman. How does that change my life? How does that make me sleep better at night? Talk to me about this business that I have to run and what you're going to do to help that business run better. And don't, love of heaven, don't talk to me about the problem you solved yesterday. I don't care. That was yesterday and it's solved. Talk to me about the processes you're putting in place that are going to prevent problems like that from occurring ever again. Now you've got value. Now I'm interested. So building this level of vision into those people who are in transition is a huge challenge. And frankly, that population tends to be a little older, and they're resistant. Because I've got 30 years of, no, it's, if all you do is use your iPhone 5 to make telephone calls, you don't get it. So, and of course we have to understand that we live in a much more diverse world than we used to, and it's generationally diverse as well as gender diverse, ethnic diverse, et cetera, et cetera. So, but what I get excited about is frankly this, the idea that we've got all these hundreds of thousands of needs right now today, and just, I think 2 days ago, somebody has come up with the estimate that says we need to add another 1.4 million jobs on top of those jobs that are open now over the next 4 years. Holy Toledo, where is that talent going to come from? Now, I'm a believer. I'm even a bit of an evangelist in terms of this is the place to be from a career standpoint for, I don't know, maybe it's longer than 50 years. We are redefining the structural business models of enterprises in that integrated supply chain view of how companies work. We have huge impact on corporate performance. And within the world of supply chain management, it's not just order pickers and forklift drivers. We've got the broadest span of functions, tasks, responsibilities of any field that I know of, really. It's incredibly rich and robust. And this is some of my work with the state of Ohio and with economic development, Jobs Ohio, is really built on these premises of creating a 21st century approach to, one, educating people at appropriate levels. The idea that you've got to go to Georgia Tech or Ohio State or wherever, get a mighty fine degree to get a job here is useful if that's where your other interests are taking you, but you can get rewarding, fulfilling, decent paying jobs. To be honest about it, you can't walk out of high school and just get a job, bang. But there are courses, certifications, associate's degrees, functional tracks that hit at all levels. I even hate to say levels because it implies a superiority and an inferiority. I'm just a steel mill kid, so I don't like that. I'd rather talk horizontally about numbers of entry points into a career in supply chain management. But we're where it's happening. We've got these entry points. We are going in the right direction in the world of diversity and opportunity. Is there a glass ceiling? Yeah. But it's got a couple cracks in it. We can see through it. And every once in a while, somebody climbs through. For those of you that I've not talked to, but Cindy knows this, I'm a little biased in this area in that my daughter runs the North American supply chain for a small specialty chemical company. Well, it's smallish, I guess. Depending on commodity prices, their annual sales are somewhere in the 7 to 10 billion range. So it's they'll be around for a while. And another thing that's really neat about this field is that we've got, even though there are nuances that are important, in process industries that are different from what you get in some other industries. An awful lot of what we do is transferable. You're not necessarily a lifer in the steel mills or in the oil refineries or whatever the dominant industry in your neighborhood is. So now, nothing's recession-proof, but we tend to get hurt less and hurt last in an economic downturn, and we tend to come back. It's not like manufacturing that can totally collapse. And it's a world just full of opportunity and new learning and ways to grow. So the whole pitch that I'm making is that this thing called supply chain management is full of good jobs, great careers that let people live full and rich lives. And when you get populations that are enjoying that kind of work life, it's good for the community, it's good for families, it's good for everything. So we're in a win-win-win business, but it is tough slugging to get enough trained people. Now we'll skip out some of this, but we talk a little bit about the scope and range of what's really involved in supply chain management, and it's huge. And what we're not directly involved with, we interface with. So we need to be able to talk to the legal department. We need to be able to have speaks with our fellow wizards in engineering and understand a little bit of their terminology. We need to understand what goes on in product development. Quick war story. So a few years ago, working for a food manufacturer, discovered that they were hard at work looking at alternatives in inert gas fill to prolong shelf life of product. And me being a simple lad from the country said, how about if you just make your supply chain work better and faster, and then you don't need to mess around with all that. You'll have plenty of shelf life to deal with. Oh, gee, we never thought of that. Wow. I never ate any of their food because I had that kind of attitude. Not good. So we got all kinds of stuff going on. The specialized world of IT as it applies to supply chain management is incredibly rich, and it starts with enterprise systems and the appropriate functional modules, and then you get down into the kinds of things that Elemica is developing, and life is very exciting for motivated people. So what we're doing is trying to tell this story to high school kids so that they've at least heard of supply chain management before they go off to Ohio State and say, what do I want to do when I grow up? I don't know. I guess I'll get a degree in communications. And then it's too late. Then we gotta capture them when they don't know anything about supply chain management, and that's a lot tougher to do today than it was a few years ago when nobody knew anything about supply chain management. There were no supply chain management or even logistics. We didn't even say supply chain management. There were no logistics curricula at the university level as late as about 1961 or 1962. And we stole the term logistics from the military in World War II. And that was the genesis of all of this stuff. The pioneers like Don Bowersox at Michigan State and Bud Lalonde at Ohio State, John Coyle at Penn State. These were very brave souls who decided that this nasty, brutish work was worthy of research and study and discipline. And look where we are today. You cannot find a school that doesn't have something that's pretending to be a logistics or a supply chain curriculum. I'm waiting. It's next time I look, they'll be in Sunday schools too, I'm sure. But every community college, every for-profit college has got something going on. Some are better than others. Some are absolutely horrendous, but it is a wave that has rolled through academia, for sure. But the important thing is that 3/4 of the jobs that are open now and that will be needed in the near future don't require a 4-year degree. And there are all kinds of options that they can get into and all kinds of entry points. So what we're doing, and yes, we are educating people, young people, about structures of business and where and how we drive all that in supply chain management. But we're putting this together, and the communications are tough because we've got to attract the kids, and that means we can't be delivering speeches. We can't even have a video, it's very long. You know? So we got to speak in their language using the technology that they're comfortable with to get the core message across. Like there's something good happening down the road and it doesn't come with a side order of fries. Then we've got to convince their parents that this is not what you think it is. This is not working in some dark, damp old warehouse and lets the rain and the sun in, irrespective of whatever's going on outside. And then we've got to get with educators at the secondary school level and get them to unlearn what they think they know about last century business so they can teach this century business. And guidance counselors are part of that communications equation as well. So what we're doing in Ohio is putting together a package that kind of grabs all these core notions and beginning to roll out in targeted communities programs designed to attract motivated young people, provide opportunity for unemployed, underemployed, et cetera, et cetera. We've got so much to do all at once. Man, oh man, we've got to somehow, while all this is going on, find a way to tweak the experience of people with experience with military service and convert it into something that's recognizable on a civilian basis and get employers to understand the transferability of those skills. And that means that we have to teach returning military how to speak as if they are not returning military, but talk in terms of function and outcome and obstacles and overcoming them, so on and so forth. I think we are personally a long way away from having this be a universal model, but it's, I think it's a thing we've got to do because we can't go on the way we are. And the real moral of the story is, as hard a work as this is, and it might even be harder than building those collaborative relationships, we can't give up. We got to keep going. And my own vision for all of this is that we can't set the world on fire overnight, but we can light a candle over here. And at some point, I want to be able to see this change from an event into a movement, which means that a lot of people have got to be doing things that look like this. Now, none of this, by the way, is specifically directed at truck drivers. And I'll tell you why. I think we've got to totally rethink the model for long-haul truck driving. Start with a blank sheet of paper, because the old model, even if we had enough people at the moment, is a dying model. It's just imagine, you can make what appears to be decent money driving a truck great distances, but with hours of service regulation, with electronic oversight, with CSA oversight, with lifestyle away from home, not easy. And by the way, the owner-operator model, yeah, you can make $60,000, $70,000 a year, but just I don't even know what the monthly payment is on $150,000 top-of-the-line tractor. And this is the guy, wife and 2 kids, and they're living in a double wide in the trailer park out on the edge of town. That model is not going to hold up.